You might remember him from more respectable days as the editor of the editorial pages at the Denver Post. Dan Haley, who is now the evil CEO of the Oil and Gas Association in Colorado.
Right? Hey, you never would have said respectable back when I was at the Denver Post.
You're right.
I was the enemy then, right?
Yeah, but now you're out working for an evil corporation. You're out there doing this for energy.
Right.
Oh, what a sellout you are.
Yeah, right, I know. Trust me, I hear that from my old Denver Post friends sometimes.
All right, so let's see if I got this right. Almost everybody who's had a Denver Post job has gotten a government gig.
Right.
And then there's you that got a job with the energy sector.
Right.
That's about
right.
even.
Yeah, right.
Now, I want to ask you about energy. Last year was this incredible fight over fracking and this standoff between the fractivists who wanted to put a ban statewide, and then there were it looked like it was going to be this incredible statewide ballot fight, and then it disappeared after the governor and Jared Polis came to an agreement, which I think was an interesting one, and everybody backed off, and instead we had this nice little panel. Tell me about the panel. Has the panel done anything?
Sure. So the task force was the governor's answer to getting those initiatives off the ballot in 2014. Task force met for about 6 months, end of last year into this year. They made 9 recommendations. 7 of them were approved unanimously by this board, and the board was made up equally of environmentalists, oil and gas interests, and sort of civic leaders who were supposed to not have a dog in the fight one way or the other. Right now, what's happening is 2 of those rules are being put through the rulemaking process through the regulator who regulates oil and gas in Colorado, and that's what's happening now. And the idea was to give local communities more of a voice in oil and gas development when it comes into their community. If you remember what happened, what started all this was 2012, 2013, we had 5 communities along the Front Range that banned fracking. And that sort of changed everything, changed the trajectory of what was happening in Colorado in terms of oil and gas and politics, and really got the attention of the industry and realized we need to do something about this. We need to do more to educate people in Colorado.
And I got to say, your industry was really slow on to educate. And I think the feeling was, because it's an engineer's business, all right? And engineers know that these fibs about fracking don't add up. And so I think the thinking was, well, since we're right, we're going to win. And that's true in engineering. That's not true in politics. And this threat to the industry was a very real threat. I wish it went to the ballot. I think it would have been defeated. I think it would have been over with. But now oil prices have gone down dramatically. I'm sure nobody in your business has mentioned that the prices have gone down.
I've heard something about it.
I'm sure they haven't griped at all. But so is there still a threat of a ballot initiative to take on this issue?
I think so. We don't really know what's going to happen in 2016, but let me just back up a little bit to those years of 2012 and 2013. And what industry learned was, yes, you're absolutely right. In many ways, we were not doing things properly. Just because we had a permit to drill somewhere, we would go in and do it because, as you said, we know how to drill the hole. We know that fracking is a safe process. We know that we're putting cement and steel and another layer of cement and steel into the ground to protect
contaminating groundwater.
And so we figured we're going to do this. But what we found is when we were not out talking to people, when we were not out telling them what's going to happen close to their neighborhood or something they see along I-25, that the other side came in and gave them bad information and told them that their faucet was going to catch on fire, told them that their children were going to get bloody noses and they may even die. And we have been fighting those battles ever since then and coming in and saying, and to a certain respect, I understand why people were a little bit scared and wanted information. Because if I had something going on in my neighborhood, I want to know what it is and how long is it going to be there and what is it going to sound like and all those things. And we needed to come in and really give people that information.
And it is weird when a drilling operation comes in, because it's loud, it's noisy, it's big, you've got trucks, it's industry. And to do it right, you've got to get the cement trucks and you've got to do this, and all of a sudden it's big. And for particularly about a 3-day period, it's, and then after that, there's this little pipe that comes out of the ground and goes someplace, and that's it. I mean, there's almost no footprint at all. And that'll be bringing out oil and gas for decades and decades. But so once it's gone, nobody notices.
Right.
No, but for that one period, Why is it that it scares people now, but it didn't scare people 20 years ago?
Well, so much of this is because with the enhancements to hydraulic fracturing and the innovations of being able to drill down a mile and then drill 2 miles horizontally, we are now able to access oil and gas that was once considered off limits. And so you have new areas where you can explore and develop your natural resources. And then in Colorado, you also have a lot of areas growing in the northern Front Range. Places like Erie and Windsor and Greeley and Brighton are all growing out to where the oil and gas is. You have municipalities approving permits to build houses in areas where oil companies have long had leases to one day develop those resources. And so now there's a lot of rules and different things happening. So all those groups are talking. So if you're going to buy a house, you're going to know, oh, guess what? XYZ oil company has a lease over here, and they could develop it someday. They may not, but they could, and you need to know that.
If they do, you're going to know about it.
Right.
So the surprise part is gone. All right. Even though oil prices are down, with oil prices being down, it means that the amount of drilling all over is going to go down. You're going to go to the most effective wells first before you go to the higher price ones. Does that mean next year we're not going to see a fracking initiative? The governor has done the task force. Jared Polis put his stuff on the side. The industry put their stuff on the side. They had some ballot initiatives they wanted to do. Everything was copacetic, and so now everything's fine.
Right. Well, we'll find out. I think that the politics have sort of quieted down largely because the price has dropped. So we have cut the number of rigs drilling in Colorado basically in half over what was happening last year. So I think when people see less activity out there, they're less nervous about it, and so the politics sort of calm down. However, there are a group of people out there who don't want the product to ever leave the ground. So they use fracking as the thing to get people excited.
Say more about that, because I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a clean energy crowd, but there's also a no energy crowd.
Exactly right.
And that people don't get that the United States is the Saudi Arabia of natural gas.
Right.
I mean, it is incredible. We are an energy independent nation today, if only we made that decision to do so.
We are actually the #1 producer of gas and the #1 producer of oil in the world. That was unthinkable just 5 or 6 years ago. But that is enhancements to fracking and hydraulic drilling have created this energy renaissance in this country. But there are people who don't want it to happen. They don't want the product to leave the ground. They use fracking as sort of a strange, scary thing to scare people to ban oil and gas development in Colorado. So a group has popped up in Colorado in recent weeks who said they're going to look at a fracking ban statewide. They'll need some money to do that. So you'll have to just kind of watch and see if national money comes in, outside interests come in and try to influence an election in Colorado. So we don't know, but we're watching it.
Take it out of Colorado for a little bit. You just said that we're the top oil producing nation. Now, I was a kid, and all I knew is we're strapped to the Middle East. We're going to run out. How many times were we going to run out of oil? We're supposed to run out of oil 20 times by now. We never ran out of oil, but now we have access to energy that wasn't there. So much so, we want to get rid of some of it. There are people out there who want to buy it from us, which was unthinkable.
Right.
But you can't sell it out of the country, can you?
Right. We can't export crude oil in this country. Back in the 1970s, after the Arab oil embargo, Congress decided to ban the export of crude oil. And it probably made a great deal of sense at the time. Maybe there was some nationalistic pride behind it. Whatever we develop here, we're going to keep for Americans. It doesn't make sense anymore. We have this global marketplace, and you're tying the arms of an industry, a very important industry. You're putting one arm tied behind their back. And also, you have this other sort of geopolitical thing you need to think about. We have a lot of allies across the world who would love to get oil from the United States and not have to get it from Saudi Arabia or another country.
Or Russia.
And also, think about what's happening with Iran and the deal we just cut with Iran. We are poised to give Iran a freedom we do not give ourselves, and that's the ability to export oil.
Say that again, because that's just beautiful.
Yeah.
So here's Iran. Not only, we don't have to get into the treaty, let's just keep it to oil. Now they can go and sell their oil across the globe, and your members can't.
Absolutely. They're getting a freedom we will not give ourselves. And they are going to put extra oil on the marketplace that we are not allowed to compete in that marketplace because we have our own sanctions we have put on ourselves. So the House of Representatives just recently voted to overturn the ban. It goes to the Senate. I'm not too confident in the Senate, and the president
Why?
has said the president has said he's against it as well. So this might become, I know, it boggles your mind.
Yeah.
It might become a minor issue in the 2016 presidential race, and will certainly be something for the next president to take care of.
You want to sell your product. All right, talk about jobs here in Colorado.
Sure.
During the height of this a couple of years ago, there were 20, 40,000 people coming into this state. More than that, how many?
Well, we have about 110 direct and indirect, 110,000 direct and indirect jobs in Colorado, over 40,000 oil and gas workers in Colorado.
That's gone down quite a bit.
It's not gone down quite a bit,
Really?
actually. First quarter this year saw about 2,400 layoffs. But this is not, this down cycle, this downturn is not the same one we saw in the 1980s when downtown Denver was just hollowed out, and we are not seeing that right now.
I think there are a lot of people who don't remember those days.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
I do too.
All right, 30 seconds left. What's the biggest misconception you've seen out there that if you could tell people, the one thing you need to know about the industry is?
They have lots of reasons to get it right. Their children and themselves have access to the same water and same air that you do, and they don't want to pollute it, and they don't want to kill their children. They have a lot of reasons to do it right.
Well, you're not talking to the same oil and gas guys I do. They're
Right.
into that stuff.
They're into that, yeah.
Thank you so much. Listen for me on KHOW Radio. Check out the Independence Institute. That's independenceinstitute.org. Tell a friend. We'll see you next week.